Hello, people. How's it going? I know it's been about a month, but it's been a long, hot summer, and hot summers are usually the summer days I don't work a lot. Well, on this stuff anyway. It's just too hot. By the time I get home from work, walk the dog, deal with the heat, I'm tired. But, okay. Well, let's do it a little bit. It's a little light in here, maybe. I don't know. But, I've given up on my YouTube thing yet. Not yet, anyway. But it's been about a month. I'm finally going to get back to it. It's still freaking hot outside. It's in the 90s here in Minnesota, and it's hot. You try working in a building without air conditioning. They have fans. They just don't work all that well. But it does get hot in there. So I'm just going to do some book reviews today. I might put this in a two-part thing, only because I have so many to do. But I might not. Who knows? But anyway, this one I just started was Robert E. Howard biography, which I actually am finding pretty good. I find this guy pretty interesting. Saying he died at 30. In the book, I'm right at the moment. I mean, he's still in high school, or I am in the book. He's pretty early in the book. But I'm finding him interesting. I'm finding him an interesting guy. I like what he writes. I'm finding him more interesting almost now than what he wrote. But then again, I have not really read a lot of what he wrote, other than his horror stories and one or two Conan stories. But interesting life, interesting guy. Flawed like everybody else. Has his issues like anybody else. Wanted to be a writer. I think the moment he came out, didn't like school for the same reasons I didn't like school. Pretty much, I wasn't learning anything, and I was bored. Didn't take much to bore me. It still doesn't. But interesting book. I like it so far. I mean, I do have the other two of his stuff. I know. Might as well show them anyway. I have time. This is one thing I have his book of his horror stories, which I love. It's the other one of his I have is Conan stories, which I just started reading. I like these editions. These editions are very cool. I like them. I like the way they're presented. I think they're very nice. Well done editions. The best kind of edition to have. It's my not so humble opinion. But I am finding him interesting. I'm going to have to try to find the H.P. Lovecraft biography now. I Am Providence. I'll just do the same thing I did with this. I just ordered it off Thrift Books. Is it Thrift Books? Thrift Books or Amazon. That's usually where I get my books on when it's email, when it's on the mail, when I mail them or online. I'll get the words right eventually. It's hot. Even in this room, the air conditioner's on and it's hot. I should close the window, but I need a little more light in here. I can't function in July. I have a hard time writing anything or doing anything other than working and just putting up with the heat. It is hot, despite the air conditioner basically being on. But enough of my complaints. On to the other books. I had this book as a kid. I ordered this on Thrift Books, I believe. But I had the Encyclopedia of Science Fiction, forward by Isaac Asimov. This book ends a little after Close Encounters of the Third Kind came out. But it's a cool book. It's a cool encyclopedia of the history of science fiction, the growth of science fiction, the authors. Even mentions Robert E. Howard, and it even mentions Lovecraft. I mean, it's a cool book. I love the pictures. I love the weird, unknown pictures. The science fiction pictures. Let's see what else. I like this book. It's good information, excellent information on science fiction, the writing of science fiction, the history of science fiction. Well, it's an encyclopedia, so what else would it be? Trying to find something more interesting. I'm trying to find something that might be. I mean, it has Star Wars in here. It does have, because Star Wars has just come out, and Close Encounters has just come out. But I'm trying to find good pictures that will show up on the camera. That's what I'm trying to find. But anyway, this is a really good book. I've tried to find this for years, and I finally found it on Thrift Books. But Robbie the Robot, Darth Vader. Anyway, cool book to have, though. I've been trying to find that thing for a long time. I think it's a cool encyclopedia. If you're going to read science fiction, and if you're going to write science fiction, and you like science fiction, it's the kind of encyclopedia you should have. Another book I got today, because my mom's reading it and she loves it and she likes it. The same reason I like it, it's Teddy Roosevelt. I will read almost anything on Teddy Roosevelt. He is my hero. He is my almost role model. He is the guy I try to emulate in some ways. I like this author. He's one on John Adams, which I also liked. And I think it's the HBO. I think the HBO series was based on that book he did, and it was good. It was excellent. But I like Roosevelt. I have another book in there somewhere I have on Roosevelt too, but that's his book on the Rough Riders. But I'll get to that eventually. But I haven't started this book yet. My mom, of course, who has the same taste I do, likes it, and if she likes it, I'll probably like it because we're so similar in tastes in books. But Roosevelt has always been a hero of mine. He's always been one of those people I've always liked to emulate. Very nice picture of him. But see, I know I should know this, but I don't. Not off the top of my head, anyway. Yeah, he did one on Roosevelt. He did one on John Adams. There's a book called Sailor on Horseback, but that's an Irving Stone book about Jack London. I always sometimes get the titles mixed up. This is Morning on Horseback. All right, now for this stack of things that are up here. You don't want to know, but you will. I also bought this today. Great Harry, The Extravagant Life of Henry VIII by Carolyn Erickson. I like English history, of course, but I like history. I read this book years ago, not this edition, but this is a better edition. It's a better looking book than the one I had originally. But I like English history. I like all history. But there are certain histories I like more than others. Well, you know what I mean. There's a hierarchy of these things. I mean, some subjects are more interesting to me than others, even though I like all history. But this is Henry. And if I had to choose the best Henry VIII in the movies, I still like Robert Shaw as Henry VIII, but I like that movie despite the fact that it's historically wrong about Thomas More. He was not the nicest guy in the world. Okay, despite the movie, he was not Mr. Nice Guy. I mean, he sent people to be burned at the stake. I don't want to hear how he was a saint, because he wasn't. He's an interesting guy, but he wasn't the saint that Man for All Seasons portrays him to be. But Henry VIII was interesting. I liked Robert Shaw as Henry VIII. I'm off track, I suppose, but too bad. Let's see. I also got this book today. This is Gnosticism. This is the Gnostics. This is the people who, basically spiritualized everything into the point where they don't even agree with each other. The Gnostics created a lot of works and a lot of different sects of Gnosticism to the point where they didn't agree with each other very much. It's partly why John wrote the Gospel of John. But I like Gnostics. I think they're an interesting cult. It's an interesting part of Christian or church history that isn't really a part of Christian history. The four Gnostic Gospels, which is, let's see, Secret Book of James, the Gospel of Thomas, which I have read, the Book of Thomas, and the Secret Book of John. I've read the book Gospel of Thomas, and the one of Philip. Let's see. I got this book about a week ago. I'm always interested in books on the Holocaust, for obvious reasons. Hunting Eichmann, How a Band of Survivors and a Young Spy Agency Chased Down the World's Most Notorious Nazi. I haven't read it, but then again, I know about Eichmann. Should be an interesting book. If you like history, like that kind of stuff of hunting down war criminals. He was a strange man. I mean, I've watched some of the YouTube channel histories of him, and he was just a bureaucrat would be the best way to put it. He was the ultimate bureaucrat. But anyway. The Reluctant Admiral by Yamamoto of the Imperial Navy. An interesting guy. He knew full well that Japan could not win the war if it lasted longer than a year and a half to 2 years. He could give them victories up to maybe 2 years, but after that, he knew they were going to lose. I mean, he knew the Americans. He knew them enough to realize it's not going to last that long. If we don't defeat them at Midway, which they lost, or at Coral Sea, which they lost, but he knew this is actually a pretty good book. I would recommend this book if you want to know anything about Japanese history and about the Japanese admirals and Yamamoto in particular, of course. I believe I'm already up to 10 minutes and I'm not even halfway done. That's what happens. I bought this book because I have never read it. I like Fyodor Dostoevsky. I like him. He's probably the Russian novelist. I like him. He's probably my favorite Russian novelist. Despite the fact that I think Crime and Punishment is way too long, which I think it is. I've never read this, but I'm going to probably start reading this because it's another reason I bought this. It's also why I bought Tolstoy's War and Peace. It's right there. But I'm going to read this pretty soon. I'm going to start anyway. But I bought this one. You never have too many Russian novelists, even though that's a long book. Irish ghost stories. Well, I like ghost stories, so it's pretty cool. I like Irish ghost stories. I like ghost stories, so it helps me to write my own ghost stories when I'm writing them. That should be interesting. Here's Teddy Roosevelt's Rough Rider memoir. I haven't read this, but it's Teddy, so I'll read it. I have also some of his hunting books, too. I like this Barnes & Noble Library of Essential Reading series. They have some pretty good books. This is where you're going to find most of Teddy's stuff is in this. But the movie, The Rough Riders, is good with Tom Berenger as Teddy. It's a very good movie. A very good movie. But this is Teddy's The Rough Riders. And I like Teddy, and if he wrote it, I'll probably like it. Ow, that hurt. So it's been a rough summer at work. Because it is hot in that building. I mean, they can't do anything about the fact that there's air conditioning not in the building because it's too big a warehouse to try to air condition. But anyway, they have fans and they do work. This is Samurai Williams. This is the origin of James Clavell's Shogun. This is the real story, the true story of what that other novel, who it was based on. This is who it's based on. This guy. Samurai Williams. Let's see. In 1611, London's merchant received an intriguing letter written by a marooned English mariner named William Adams, who had been living in the unknown land of Japan for more than a decade. 7 adventurers were sent to Japan with orders to find and befriend Adams. It was believed he held the key to exploiting the opulent riches of the forbidden country. But when they arrived, they discovered that William Adams had gone native. Well, no, he didn't. This is the guy that Shogun is based off of. And I like the movie Shogun. That was cool. But this is the actual fellow who actually was the model for that book, for that movie. I mean, I like anything about Japan, so that's always cool. And then there's H.H. Holmes, which is not Sherlock Holmes, but a mass murderer. Maybe. See, the thing with him, why does my computer keep doing that? Anyway, but this is, H.H. Holmes' True History of the White City Devil by Adam Seltzer. I mean, a true account of America's first and most notorious serial killer, now updated with a new afterword discussing Holmes' examination on the American River. He was a murderer. He did kill some people. They just don't know how many. But yes, this is my friend Natalie would probably like this book. But yeah, I mean, this is one of those few books, by the way, that I bought at Barnes & Noble and not at a half-price bookstore. This is when I actually bought it full price. It looked interesting. I had money. I spent money. What do you want from me? So this book, I'm just making another one of. I don't need to worry about that. More ghost stories, the best of ghost stories. I like ghost stories. Good ones. This one has all kinds of tales and all kinds of stories. Joseph Sheridan LaFugne, Kipling, Ambrose Bierce, Henry James, Edgar Allan Poe, all kinds of Robert Stevenson, Arthur Conan Doyle, all kinds of good authors from this book. But anyway, I may have to put this in twice or double it or something on a different video because it's getting a little long on the tooth. This is just a biography of Sarah Orrin Jewett, her world and her work. If you've read The Country of Pointed Pines, this is who that author is. I have known nothing about her. I have her book. I have the Country of Pointed Pines. Yeah, Pointed Pines. Firs. Pines, firs. My glasses need to be replaced. They really do. The Country of Pointed Firs. This is her biography. I've never read it. I haven't read it yet. I haven't even read that other book yet. But I like books on authors. I always have, even if I don't know a lot about them. I always find reading them always helps me understand their writing better. I like that. Now, this author, of course, we all know about, Mr. Arthur Conan Doyle and Sherlock Holmes. I like this book. I read this book years ago when I first had it. I had to get another copy. A biography, The Adventures of Arthur Conan Doyle. Very good book. I like this book. I like Arthur Conan Doyle. He's an interesting guy. He had some odd beliefs. He was definitely an interesting character. He did Sherlock Holmes. He created. I actually like his Lost World series. His Lost World book. That might be one of my favorites, the Sherlock Holmes stuff. I have all the Sherlock Holmes stories. I also have a 7% Solution and some of the Larry Millett stories of Sherlock Holmes taking place in Minnesota. They're also very good. I might do that review at some point. And then I just bought The Beast because I do like Peter Benchley, and it's about a giant squid, and I like cephalopods, and if I were into oceanography, that's what I would study, would be cephalopods, giant squid. Even though every single thing is wrong in this book about the giant squid. Yeah, it is. I have another book that says that basically his biology, how they act, everything was just, he had no idea. It's a good book. It's a decent novel. I mean, it's not Jaws, though it tries to be. But don't take anything he says about the giant squid as fact, because it's not. It's fun to read. It's just not accurate. It's not accurate when it comes to describing how the squid acts and what it does and this, that, and the other. But overall, it's not too bad. And then I bought another Rabbi Smalls book, another detective novel. The Monday the Rabbi took off. This time he's in Israel, getting himself in trouble. I like this guy. I like the novels. I like the detective stories. Even though I think the last one was a little drawn out more than it should have been. Well, that's just me. But I like the Rabbi Small novels. I think they're pretty cool. Let's see. Oh, and then there's Howard Cosell. I'm sorry. I grew up on Howard Cosell. I was a kid when Howard Cosell was on Monday Night Football. So I had to buy that for, I think it cost me $1 at Goodwill, I think. But yes, I will read this eventually. But Howard Cosell, he was quite the character. He certainly was quite the character. And then there's True Grit, which I've never read. I was going to read this for June on the Range, a YouTube event about just reading Westerns in June, and I never got around to it. But I'll read this eventually. I mean, I do like the movies. I never saw... Did I? I don't remember. I still like the John Wayne version. But, True Grit. Yeah. I know, I'm trying to go a little fast going because this is going a little longer than I intended. It is going a little longer than I intended. I also bought this Jaws because I don't have one. I lost my other one, so I just bought another copy of Jaws. I actually like this novel. I read this novel a long time ago, of course. But I remember this book. It was interesting. A little bit different than the movie. A lot different than the movie. And there's the natural about baseball. A decent movie with Robert Redford, but this is Bernard Nellman's The Natural, baseball, mythology, this, that, and the other. It's a good novel. Now, I read this with June on the Range. Now, it's good. I like it. I enjoyed it. It's a little fast and loose with the historical facts, but then again, it's written as a novel. It's written as a memoir, like a novel. I mean, it's good. I like it. I liked it. I found Richard Matheson to be a pretty good Western writer. even though he's more into horror and that other stuff. But excellent book, worth reading, quick read, worth the time and effort. Another Western I had forgotten about, starring Charles Bronson and Joel Ireland, was this book. I like this movie. I haven't read the book yet. It's been a long time since I've seen that movie. So I got to read the book. I was going to recommend this for June on the Range. The sun on the way. There we go. I can see maybe a little bit better. Keeps glaring. There you go. It's a good book. Good movie. Alistair MacLean is a pretty good author. He wrote a biography of James Cook that I read as a kid. I still have that book's over there somewhere. Then I found Stephen King's On Writing, which I like this book. He's helped me a lot in my own writing. You want to learn to be a better writer, read this book. Ray Bradbury's Zen, The Art of Writing. And then some other books I can think of, but those two books probably I find, just strictly speaking on writing, are pretty good or very good. Say what you may say about the guy in his actual writing, he knows what he's talking about. But this is a good book. Almost done, I promise. I'm trying to get it done within 30 minutes. This book I bought for Garbagus, which is another booktube event in August. We're supposed to read trash books, trash stories, and this one seemed to fit that bill perfectly. I know nothing about it, but the title alone, if you could read it, should tell you all you need to know. The most uninhibited, delicious, erotic novel a woman ever wrote. And I'll let you know after I'm done reading it. Because I've read the 50 Shades of BS book. God, that was boring. God, it was so predictably boring. It's not even funny. This better be better. Let me put it this way. I found Maggie Gyllenhaal's The Secretary far more erotic and far more fun to watch than reading 50 Shades of Bullshit. That's what I'm going to call it, because it was. Oh, maybe I'll talk about that book some other time, but I'm sorry. I found the novel boring, and I found it predictable, and I found it about as interesting as watching paint dry, because it was. This book I just bought because I might use it for a character in a story. He might need to know something. This is just more for writing information than anything else. But yes, it is The Complete Bartender. The French Green Dragon. Okay, an ounce and a half of cognac and an ounce and a half of green chartreuse. Well, that sounds questionable. Then there's my edition of War and Peace that I finally bought. I am going to read this as well as my Dostoevsky book. I tried to read this years ago, and I think I got about as far as that. But I'm going to try it again to finish it and read it. You should always try to read these large books, because I don't know why. Supposedly you're supposed to be, erudite and upper crust and blah, blah, blah. But anyway, it should be interesting. I won't read that too. I started reading Herodotus too, but that I'll probably finish because that's not very long. Zane Grey, short stories of Zane Grey, Westerns. Another book on short stories was this one, which I was told you couldn't find, but I found it, which I found on thrift books. His baseball stories. So, Zane Grey, I like Zane Grey. I find I like him very much. But this is his baseball stories or story collection. I bought this also for the June on the Range. I read one or two of the stories. I liked it. It was fun. Almost done. I got 3 more books to go, people. We're getting there. A Short History of the Civil War at Sea. It's the Civil War. Western at the Lake. Yeah. Anyway, cool. I like it. And then I also got this one, I haven't found the Johnny Reb one yet, but the Billy Yank one I found. I've never read this, but it's a Civil War classic. See, Civil War classic. It says so right there. Would the book lie? Yes, it would. But I doubt it. But anyway, The Common Soldier of the Union Army. But I've never read it. I will read it. I will hopefully get my novel done, or at least started. I do want to write at least one other novel before I die. That is my Civil War novel of the Minnesota Civil War. The Minnesota in the Civil War. You get the idea. It's hot in this room. It should not be this hot in this room, but it is. That's with the air conditioner on. Probably because of the window. But anyway. And then last but not least, at 25 and a half minutes, Marathon, How One Battle Changed Western Civilization. Debatable. But anyway, Greek history, never boring, never dull. So that should be all the books. That's all the books up to this point, anyway. Trying to organize up here. I gotta put it all back up here. At least until I put it all away, anyway. Anyway, I know it was a long book review of things. So I will end it here. Please, comment, like, share. Please. Thank you for watching it. If you do, I will see you in the next video. Hopefully, it won't be a month from now. It shouldn't be. Later. Behave yourselves, people, because I'm not going to.